everybody. Welcome back to Engaging the Phenomenon. And today we are honored to have back returning guest Jon Majerowski. Welcome, Jon.
Oh, James, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I'm going to say it off the beginning, just the top, and like I want to say this: that I say your name in every podcast, and I say engaging the phenomenon in every podcast because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. Like 6 years ago, you reached out to me and said, "Dude, you should do a podcast," and I said, "No, I don't know what I'm doing." You're like, "I'll help you," and I'm like, "I have no idea," and you're like, "I'll show you how to do it," and that's where I am because of you, man. And I appreciate you and your kindness and your generosity for all these years. And dude, I love you. You're the best. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Likewise, and appreciated. And one of the reasons we were, that I was like, oh man, you should do this is because you're a Freemason,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah,
And
right,
I thought, man, I think people would love to hear the perspective of somebody that's in a mystery tradition who has esoteric and occult knowledge, right, from a legitimate order,
right, right.
and like where are they on this journey in regards to UFOs, right? And
Yeah.
so what would you say to people who might be like, "Oh my God, he's a Freemason," like, and they're going to be like paranoid about it? Like, I can't listen to them. This is, this kind of gets into the conversation of like, oh, their intelligence or something, like the
Right.
IC is involved with UFOs. So people that hear that you're a Freemason
Oh,
and
they freak out. Like it's just the one way they're like, I'm worshiping the devil, I'm like sacrificing people, and the other part. But to be completely honest, like I read a lot of Jim Marrs books, I didn't know any Freemasons per se, but I always thought the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, they're at the top, they're sitting at the top of the pyramid, and Freemasons are running the world. And until I met a guy who was like completely the farthest thing from the truth, and then got to know him. He was a really cool dude, and I asked him, he said, hey, did you ever? I was like, how do you do it? He's like, oh, you just got to ask. I'm like, okay, well, how do I do it? And with the total intention of becoming a Freemason, just to get in there and blow all of the secrets wide open, right? And I was going to be like the guy that does the expose that's going to be like, this is what they're doing. They are really in there, they're lizard people, or, just whatever the hell all the rumors were, right? But when I got in there, I found like one of the most beautiful ancient traditions on the planet that's, brotherly love, relief, truth. Those are like the tenets of Freemasonry, and that's what I found. Charity, hope, all of those things that Freemasonry stands for, and it's an amazing tradition. That it's a society with secrets, right? Everybody says, "Well, what is that?" And so everybody freaks out. And we need to do a better conversation of explaining who we are and what we do. But the things that we just keep secret are the ways that we can tell each other apart, right? So that I know that, for example, like if you're a Freemason, like I would know through certain signs and passwords and things like that, and the handshakes, it's part of it, that I would know
yeah,
that you're a Freemason. And it was, well, why you want to hide that? It's like so that we know that people aren't infiltrating or just trying to take advantage of our tradition and our our order. So those are the things that are secret. We keep those secrets so that we can know each other, and the rest of it's open. It's open. But I mean, you can go on Google and probably find everything about everything you can about Freemasonry. It's all there. Mostly, it's all there. I mean, it's people have been doing it for years. So yeah, I got into it the same exact way. Like, I'm going to do this, but I met some of the coolest guys on the planet. I've had a great time, and I've learned to like improve myself through masonry and like as a better human being because of it. And I think it's an awesome journey. So that's my side of it, I think.
yeah. And before we started recording, I told you like I went to a lodge one time because they had some kind of like open house thing, right?
Yeah,
And I was expecting to see like every like the whole like everybody into like all this kind of crazy stuff, right?
yeah,
Or interesting stuff.
yeah.
And most of the people, at least in this lodge, the lodge that I went to for this open house thing, were pretty common men, right?
Hmm.
They were not all into like occultism and everything, at least in this one place, right? And I found
Yeah,
the philosopher of the group, and I guess he saw that I was what I was looking for. And I
yeah.
said, what should I read? And he gave me three books. I think
Hmm.
one of them was Secret Teachings of All Ages, which I
Oh,
was already familiar with.
Manly P.
I
Hall. Yeah.
can't remember the other one, but the third one, which I had not heard of until then, was the Kybalion.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cool.
And of course, after he told me that, I got into that, and I was familiar with Hermeticism through other
Mm,
means, but I
right.
had never read the Kabbalion proper until he had mentioned it, and it was so funny. He actually almost looked like Richard Dolan with a beard. But it was so funny. It was, but I'll never forget that guy. And
That's awesome.
yeah, no, and it's just an interesting story. But
Yeah, that's rad.
UFOs, right? You got so where do UFOs come into the story for you as you're a 32nd degree Mason?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When the Scottish Rite is the branch of masonry, and it's a 32-degree system. But yeah, that's yeah. So I joined that because there's like once you become as you go through the 3 degrees, there's different appendant bodies they call them. So you have like the shrine, like so I'm a Shriner too, right? So that's an appendant body, and then the Scottish Rite, that's the 32 degrees. There's the York Rite, which becomes goes up to Knights Templar, I'm a Knights Templar as well. So I kind of just wanted to go through all of them to see, what it was all about. There's another appendant body that's the SRICF, which is the Rosicrucian branch of Freemasonry. That's a Christian, branch of Masonry. That's the Rosicrucian tradition on that side. So there's a whole bunch of different appendant bodies, and they're all kind of different. The Rosicrucian one's a little bit more esoteric. The Scottish Rite is more esoteric, and where the York Rite's more Christian. It's more Christian based on that side. So it's interesting to see how they all kind of play. But they all have like a different kind of bend, but they're all the same. Like the core masonry is like one of the sayings is that you can't get a higher degree than the 3rd degree in masonry, and like technically that's true. Like the first 3 degrees in masonry, and either master mason is your 3rd degree, and you technically can't get higher than, because the rest of them are just appendant bodies. But they all have like really good moral lessons and teachings and things like that. And like I said, it's really cool to just experience that with other men. And like you said, the people are amazing, like brothers. Like I'll be sitting next to the janitor from the high school here, and it could be the congressman, right? But we're all in the same level in the lodge. And that's why I named my podcast like UFOs on the Level, because literally that's how it is. We're all on the same level. Nobody's better than anybody else. We're all brothers. We're all in it together, and we're all just trying to improve ourselves, and we get along, and it's just the great time. There's old stories of sitting presidents that were Masons that would come into a lodge room, and the guy who's the head of the lodge, they call him the master of the lodge. It sounds weird, but he's the master of the lodge and worshipful master, and like the president of the United States has to do what the worshipful master says in that setting because of the way the order works, right? So we're all like on the level. So it's like the president can't call the shots just because he's the president. This is this lodge, and the worshipful's going to be, preside over everything. So it's really cool. And that's why I named it UFOs on the Level, because I thought, well, let's just get this on the level, man. Like, it's just no bullshit. Let's just get everybody on the same page and, just try to figure out all the answers together. I'm not
Oh,
struggling with that.
and in doing that, you wrote
Yeah.
a book,
I did. I wrote a book. I know. It's all over
Contact
me.
and Control,
Yeah,
right?
you
You
got
got
it.
it in the
Hey, look at
back, you
that.
got it here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, you got like a lot of really interesting or quotes from the book, right? I've seen a lot of the graphics that you made and memes.
Yeah, yeah.
So this book, Contact and Control, where did
Right.
this name come from?
Well, man, I mean, it's taken me like 6 years. I started kind of writing it around the same time I started the podcast, because there was just too much. There were too many things happening, and I know you and I talked on the record for a lot, off the record a lot too during that whole time, because there was some crazy shit going on, personally, and with the UFO experience and all that. So I started like really trying to put together everything that I was experiencing and everything that I was seeing in the community and everything that all my research had been going on my whole life. And I named it that because everywhere I looked, if you person or a society or anybody has contact with something that's non-human intelligence, or something that's, not normal, right? So non-human intelligence, whatever you want to call them, there's a control mechanism that comes into play. There's a control system that's either by design, by humans against humans, or by maybe the phenomenon itself. And the control mechanism runs the gamut of everything, as far as, hiding classified information, hiding classified technology, hiding information about who we are as humans and abilities and latent abilities that we have that we've been suppressed our entire life. Not only technology, like I said, but like our own DNA, who we come from, our basic understanding of our history, and all of those things are kind of been controlled, and they come down a lot harder as soon as somebody has control. As soon as you become an experiencer, or as soon as you experience these things, you can see that control mechanism just come down. So I thought the best way to describe it and name the book was, contact and control. You have this contact thing happen, and then the control mechanism just pops right on top of you. So that's
And
the best way I could describe it.
right, and the dynamic that you mentioned there, right? There's the human control aspect, right? The intelligence community,
Yep.
legacy programs,
Yep.
and then of course there's the phenomenon.
Right.
So which control mechanism do you think is more predominant?
Yeah, it's so hard to tell. I mean, and it's different because we look at ufology or whatever from the U.S. perspective, and it's funny. Have you ever seen the maps of like where's the most UFO sightings reported? It's like America. It's just one
Yeah,
big ball,
America.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just boom. It's just one big thing. But like the rest of the world, these little dots, right? So it's different. That's different. Where other cultures are just like, oh yeah, that's just something that happens. I mean, there's whole towns in Japan that they're like, yeah, UFO landed here, and we have like a visitor center, and it's like
Yeah,
they have
right.
like a tourist attraction and everything, right? And it's just like no big deal. So here is in America, we have a different lens, I think, that we look at it all. But I mean, through all my research, I feel like it's not random in the fact that it does follow families, genetic bloodlines at times. It repeats across generations. There's lots of stories of people like, well, my grandfather had an experience, and my mother did, and my grandmother did, and like I do, and then, it's like the same families, and it's, you know, it's not really necessarily random when you start looking at the patterns that exist, and you start to figure out that there's way more to this than just lights in the sky, right? There's a whole biological aspect that we've not been discussing at all in the community, for sure. Aside from maybe the hybrid thing, or maybe the abduction, or in people who are taking eggs and sperm and things like that, and that was part of the like kind of like late '90s, early '90s. It was kind of a lot more so now. There was a lot more abduction books and things, but nobody's looking at it from the bloodlines, from the DNA. But until now, until a few things that could be predominantly made me push me really hard to dig into that a little bit deeper and talk about that more, because I think it's really underserved and people aren't speaking about it as much as they should, honestly.
And what do you think the connection is with the DNA?
Well, I mean, we've talked about this, and I've talked about it a long time, and I don't know if you and I have actually talked about it on the official record, but you and Andrew Razowitz did a podcast, I don't know how many years ago now, and Andrew was talking about DNA. He was talking about experiencers having their DNA collected by people, and he named them.
Yeah.
It was, yep. Yeah, he said it was Kit Green, Gary Nolan. He said there's people in that NIDS crew and whatever that other ancillary crew of people are. They're asking for their DNA, or they're collecting DNA, and they're not telling experiencers what they're doing with it. And then I posted that clip. It was a clip on your podcast. It was, and I posted it on Twitter, and all hell broke loose for me. Like instantly, Tom DeLonge retweeted it, and then after that, I don't know how many million people saw it, right?
Yeah.
After that happened, I was like, oh my God, I woke up to like, holy crap, what happened, right? Like it was just, everything blew up. And then I started getting DM'd, like from Gary, like, take it down, I didn't say it. And I'm like, dude, I didn't say it. Like, that was a guy named Andrew on James's podcast, and I posted a clip. I'm like, why are you into my grill? Like, I literally just reposted the clip and then blocked me. And then after that, man, there was people reaching out to me from all over, like going, dude, you should take it down. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why? I mean, like, so then to me, it just came out of left field. I'm like, why is everybody so mad? And people that I was friendly with and people that I've known, like that, I was just like, why is everybody giving me so much crap and static for this? And then it was weird after that. Like, I kind of got shadow banned, right? So YouTube, you couldn't find my podcast anywhere, even if you're looking for it. Like, my Twitter, it was Twitter at the time, X. You couldn't see my post. People would see my post, didn't see my post anymore. It was just a black hole, And that's when I kind of doubled down and was like, well, why did this hit such a nerve? And that's when I started doing the research. I got Andrew on the podcast a couple times, and I talked to him on the record, off the record. I talked to a bunch of other people on the record, off the record, about what is going on. And if you think about it, you can dismiss like an experiencer's testimony, right? And you'd be like, oh, that guy's making it up. But you can't dismiss a genetic marker. So when you have certain experiencers in the population they just keep showing consistent anomalies in their biology, and like, you leave the realm of subjective experience, right? And then you entered hard science at that point. you literally have something to physically look at as hard science. So the implications are huge, they're enormous when you start talking about that. Like wherever the phenomenon is and who's contacted and why these institutions spent decades collecting data without telling us, it's very telling, right? And then you have some of the people that were named in that thing, like Dr. Gary Nolan, saying in Diana Pasulko's book before he was named, James, that he wanted to create a drug to turn on and off the phenomena, right? And that's what they wanted. He wanted to be able to do that, right? And you start digging deeper, and yeah, that's what's going on, right? They're trying to do that. Then you follow the work of Dr. Dean Radin, who recently just said on a podcast, and I quoted in my book. Basically, he said we've created a drug that passes the blood-brain barrier intranasally, and I'm loosely quoting here, but it's in the book. That depending on the amount of dosage can either turn on or off psychic abilities in a person for either a short window of time or forever. And he said, I'm kind of afraid that if, my work doesn't get out there or something happens to me or my work, I at least want people to know about it. I at least want people to understand that that's what I'm working on and what we've been able to achieve. And for him to say that after all the years that, he's been an amazing researcher, and, through all of this is kind of telling. So he did use the word super soldier as well. That was out of Dr. Dean Radin's mouth. So it's theorized that if you could do that, you could create a super soldier in a way. I mean, imagine giving somebody a nose spray, like a Flonase or something, to a group of already trained, highly skilled, elite fighters, for America, like the Black Ops guys. Then they're all of a sudden psychic, right? I mean, that would be the most dangerous weapon ever. They would know what's coming around the corner before it came around the corner. They could talk to each other, maybe to have you're talking about $1 trillion business that whoever they're doing could sell that to the government and be the top of the world. So yeah, I can understand why that pissed everybody off when I started digging into it and talking about it, right?
Yeah.
If there's any legs to any of that, right?
Well, and I, I've spoken to Gary many times, and I've always known him to be an all right guy, right? Like he was always more than decent.
Of course.
And I mean, if he has to kill a conversation or something, whatever it is, he's probably doing it for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's for self-preservation, I don't know. But I can say, I spoke to Jon Burroughs, and I
Yeah, he was
started
one of the
talking to
ones.
Jon Burroughs in 2018.
Yeah.
And I remember that whole controversy, and John was upset about what happened, and
Yeah.
kind
Well,
of
to
taken
tell
back.
everybody who doesn't understand what we're talking about, the John Burroughs story was, and then correct me if I'm wrong on all this stuff, is that he was injured in the line of duty. I think he was there at Rendlesham Forest. Is that
Correct.
correct? And he had it was non-ionizing radiation, maybe.
Yeah, and his heart, and it's affecting his heart. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he needed a surgery or whatever, but they wanted his DNA. People asked for his DNA, and I think it was Kit Green,
Well,
Gary
I mean,
Nolan,
yeah, yeah. I mean, and I mean to add to the complication of the story, just to get a little bit more in depth, is
yeah,
that they were denying him his medical records because the event was classified, even though they were saying he was not even in the Air Force at that time. So the whole fucking thing is crazy suspect. They
yeah,
were able to pull Kate Green into the fold because he had the
clearance.
proper tickets. He had the right clearances
Hmm.
to be able to look at his medical records. And then so John was pissed, and
I understandably,
yeah, and
yeah.
the whole citizens hearing thing, that's so funny that what's his face got involved.
Oh,
Uh, you
was it
know,
McCain? Or
yeah, John McCain.
John McCain. It was the only
Yeah,
reason he got his records released, right?
yeah, which is insane.
John
That
McCain had to get his records released for him to be able. Yeah,
yeah, but so there's different perspectives on that. One is, they got John's DNA, and the other perspective from the other party was, well, we saved his life.
right.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah, that
it's still a
but
conundrum.
this is right. But so this is going back, a few years, and
Yeah,
the thing, I don't know why. Well, I mean, I get you kind of spelled it out. But I was going to say I
yeah,
don't know why it was such a big deal,
yeah.
but I know Andrew was not just making it up.
Hmm.
because when that whole thing was going on with Andrew, you
Yeah.
told me about it.
Yeah.
Wow, like back years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
didn't doubt him at all because I knew about the John Burroughs story. So I was like, oh
Exactly.
shit. But
It's a
he was not
pattern.
talking about it publicly at that time.
Right.
He
Right.
didn't, Andrew was tight-lipped about it, and
Yep.
respecting that space, and it eventually came out, and
And when Andrew said that when John Burroughs started going on podcasts and started talking about that, that's when he talked about it with me, on my podcast, and like, yeah, he kept that to the vest. But when Burroughs was out there talking about publicly, I figured he thought he was fair game to
yeah,
do it too, right? And I don't believe. I mean, it's good that everybody's not just sitting there keeping their mouth shut, because these are the patterns that we need to find to be able to put this shit together, right? I mean, because if not, everybody sits around with their mouth closed. We're not going to figure anything out. But yeah, that really pissed me. And I get it, right? I mean, we were talking earlier too, probably before we hit record, was that part of these people are telling you straight up that they have to lie, that they're going to lie to you
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's their job.
I referenced the mega paper put together by Joe Mergia,
Yeah.
UFO Joe, the excellent piece that he did on the Wilson Davis memo, and he has a quote there from Dr. Eric Davis. He's straight up telling you, you're going to be lied to because that's the rule. I mean, he's straight up saying it,
Yeah.
and that's what happens with a lot of this stuff. And so, but I mean, that's also why you can't completely discount a source like that, say
Right.
Eric Davis or Jim Lukatsky, when they say something. It's not just they're an IC guy, so they're lying about everything. It's
Right.
it's more nuanced than that, right?
Yeah.
It requires a more refined sensory acuity because you have to parse out what is the
Truth.
disinformation, what part of they have to by law, right,
Mm-hmm.
lie to
Mm-hmm.
protect the program, and what is it that they do want to see some of it out in the public.
Yeah. Right. 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 So then where's that line? I mean, Lukaski, I think he said on, was it Weaponized podcast or something? He was like, I'm not going to Congress. I'm gonna lie if I go to
Yeah,
Congress. I have to lie. I'm not going.
yeah,
It's
because
like,
that's what he's supposed to do. I mean,
yeah.
that's what his orders are, right? I mean, just like
Right.
some of these guys, they're brought into a program like that, and they tell you there's a bullet with your name on it, and if you talk
Mm-hmm.
about this, it will find you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the rule.
And there's even worse than that. I've heard stories too where guys were being shown pictures of their families,
Right, right,
like
right.
going shopping or at the school or
Yes.
something. Their kids, and they're like, "Hey, we can get you at any time. Shut
Yeah.
up," you know. And I get it, right? I get it. I understand. So like, you can't put somebody in a position, but the DNA thing is what would really put me in that direction of digging deeper into that, right? And so like, where is that in this conversation that we're not having a conversation about? And that's part of it, the biological part, the markers, the
Well, and it's so funny because the caudate attainment thing came out, right? I
yeah,
wrote an
yeah,
article,
you did, yeah, early
yeah,
on,
and
really early on about that.
yeah, but then the whole DNA marker thing disappeared. You never heard about it again.
Mm-mm.
And I, yeah, I'll just say that. I'll just say that that whole part of the conversation disappeared.
Completely, instantly, right?
Yeah. I mean, after that, yeah, it really disappeared. And I guess that there was some kind of talk that said that's a no-go. So maybe
Yeah,
they made a breakthrough or whatever it is, but
if you listen to the Dean Radin, they said they did, but that's one
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
That's one
Dean
side, and
Radin is like, and I would say Dean Radin is very conservative. If you
very
watch his
conservative.
interviews, and I interviewed him, and we were talking about, C5 and other and psionics and psi phenomena,
Yeah,
and he's pretty conservative.
yeah.
For him to say that is like, wow, the guy must be legitimately spooked.
That's the impression I got, that he's legitimately. I mean, he said he was. He literally in the quote, he's like, he's generally concerned, right, that something's going to happen to him or the research or both, and then it goes all the way. And
Well, not
Possibly,
yeah, and that's before there's the talk of all these missing scientists, right?
that
Which
was of course before that. Yeah, yeah,
is like insane now. I mean, it's gotten to a crazy point. I know there's conflation in some of
right.
the cases, right? But it is fucking suspect, man. Like the whole thing. If you look at it from like up here, it's like this doesn't look
Mm,
right, right? Like
no,
what are the odds on a scale of probability?
it's way
It just doesn't make sense, man. It's just
yeah, you got probably better odds of picking the horse at the Kentucky Derby yesterday than it does to put all those people
yeah,
together.
and you know the latest, of course, McCaslin, right? Like
Yeah,
the guy, the
the
general.
the guy the DeLong outed, or I mean, the WikiLeaks was about that. DeLong didn't out, but it was the guy working with DeLong. Huge. That was the big one. And you know what? And I've said this to you before I started my podcast, and I said it before that. I'm like, I'll be fine. They don't kill anybody anymore.
Right, right, right. I remember we had that
I
conversation
was
a
like, I
few
don't want to be.
times.
I was like, I don't want the van to show up and like I just disappear one day because I'm
Yeah,
fucking talking about this. They're like, they don't do that anymore. They don't make
yeah,
people disappear. Now we got what 15 people. I don't know how many what the number is now anymore, and it's just gone.
yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, it's just weird, man. But why?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not drawing a line for people to think this, but it just in you know, the three body problem, right? Like
Oh
the
yeah,
whole. I saw the show. I didn't read the books, but the whole show starts off with that. All the scientists are,
just disappearing.
yeah, did in
Yeah.
different ways, and it's like, man,
Hmm.
that's weird.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And then there's like rumors that people were. Well, man, the craziest one I saw was, and man, I'm gonna completely forget where somebody said this, but it was um that Eddie Vedder. So like I'm a Pearl Jam fan. I love like Eddie Vedder was hanging out with Barack Obama after the presidency or whatever. I guess the story was Eddie Vedder hanging out with Barack Obama around a campfire somewhere, and I'm trying to put together where the hell this would have happened. But Eddie Vedder's got a place in Hawaii, and I think Obama does too, because Vedder surfs all the time. So I'm thinking that's probably where it was. But somebody like Vedder said this, that he asked Obama about aliens, UFOs, and all this stuff, and Obama's response was, "Read the three body problem."
wow.
So I'm like, well, what the hell, man? Like, and then
Yeah.
there's other. I think you and I have heard that other people in different things, that people have suggested that people read that to have a better understanding of what's going on, right?
Yeah, and it's so funny. I think for some reason, I don't know if it ever debuted or something. Maybe it debuted in some kind of special, but when I was talking to Jim
Mm-hmm.
Semivan, he mentioned something that he did some kind of like short interview for some kind of something to do with the three body problem. I don't know if it was
Oh,
some kind of
really?
special or something, but I never actually saw it. But
Man,
he
I haven't
mentioned they
either.
did some kind of recording and it was in light of the three body problem being released on Netflix.
Oh, okay. It could have been like the promo for it or something, or
I don't
the
know. Yeah, I never actually saw the clip, but he told me he did something along those lines.
wow. Yeah, I mean, the long has been real quiet, and I mean, and you read, I'm a shareholder, right? So I still get all the information from
Oh, nice.
TTS.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like whatever they're working on and whatever else, but they're like deep into making movies and series and all this stuff, and they're really really pushing hard for that. And DeLong's been a ghost, but last thing I heard was that he was like balls deep in getting that movie off the ground, The Secret Machines. I think they're making Legendary
Serious.
Pictures, yeah,
Yeah.
the whole series. And I don't know where it's going to land, but they're doing that whole series for Secret Machines. So
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say on that is, I mean, for Secret Machines, I can't wait to see that in a series, man.
that would be
As
sweet.
far
Yeah,
as a fictional story, it's a
yeah,
great story, man.
yeah,
It's got everything. You know, you got the Maynard Consortium, you got the Black Triangles,
yep.
the arrows, and the psionic control of the craft in some regards, and secret agents, and
Double
you
agents,
know,
triple agents,
yeah,
like
my labs. It's got everything, dude.
it literally has everything
Yeah.
in
So I
it.
mean,
Those
even
books are
just
like that.
right, yeah, 700 pages.
Yeah,
It's got the ancient history part right in
yeah,
the second part, and but
yeah,
on your book here it says they are not hiding UFOs. They're hiding what contact does to you.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
What
that
does
was what.
contact do to you, me, and everybody else?
Well, what? what is it you've talked about? I don't know, you've talked about it publicly a lot, but personally, it's done a lot. I mean, to me, it's done things to me. I don't know. I mean, without sounding arrogant or egotistical or whatever, but like after my experiences, I've noticed myself to be more psychically aware, I guess, psychically in tune. Like I can know the phone might ring. Oh shit, my mom's going to call in a minute or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I know those kind of things, or be more, I don't know. It's like slowed me down and made me pay more attention to my environment and to like nature and things like, oh shit, like I never cared about a bird before, you know, but now I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. Just to be able to watch nature and be in around it and be in it and just be more connected, you know, to the earth and things like that. It's done those things to me where I've be more, it's like entered into me like a more sense of awe of the world and everybody and everything around me. And those things has really helped me, I think, beneficial. But I've heard the other side of that where people are really haunted by experiences and, you know, the negative things and
Yeah.
bad
Well,
experiences, right?
yeah, and that's why part of what I say is like, okay, if this is like this is going to be a bad demonstration, but like this is
Yeah.
like the human aperture, right?
Right.
When you have a contact experience, especially a very like in your face or direct contact experience, that aperture opens up like this,
Right.
and all of a sudden you're able to perceive a greater aspect of reality. It's always been there, but some of those realities you can consider non-physical. Some
Right.
of those realities you can consider non-local, right? It's just information. There's Our brains are only taking, well, they're taking in everything, right? The subconscious is taking everything in. And I think actually this is kind of where the basal ganglia caudate putamen thing comes in, is
Mm-hmm.
because we're taking all the information in. The
Right.
problem, or what
Yeah.
happens is we filter everything down
Like 90% of it or more, I think. Yeah,
way
for sure.
more.
Yeah.
Like I forget when they put it into bits, like we're receiving like millions of bits and we are able to perceive like less, like a few hundred bits out of a million.
Right.
So like all that, yeah, right. That they say we can only see like 95 or 99.5% of the visible light spectrum, right?
Right. You got infrared, you
And
got all these other spectrums we can't even see,
yeah,
but it's
and we
around
know
us
they're
being,
there,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
we can't perceive them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a UFO experience is one thing, right?
Right.
Um, Near death experience, right? Even a psychedelic experience, like
Yep.
everything that's going to kind of crack open your consensus conformed worldview.
Right.
And I mean, some people can deal with that. Some
Mm-hmm.
people can integrate it. Some people have a hard time with that. I mean,
You,
you
mm-hmm.
can have a totally beautiful, like amazing contact experience, right?
Right.
And yeah, I mean that you don't know how that's going to go, right? You can just be like, why am I working this piece of shit 9 to 5 job when I can be saving the universe, right? Like I can just like, be experiencing all that is
Yeah.
and becoming enlightened and all this and just move to India. I'll leave my wife and my kids. They'll be all right because we're all one, right? Like, so there's
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And I've
Yeah.
seen a little bit of that before, not with myself, but with others. And then there's people that they talk about now the terminology ontological shock,
Right. We just
and
can't process it.
some people they don't recover well from that, and they
Spiral.
become destabilized. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there's other cases, right, where you get approached by the intelligence community and they
Yeah.
start telling you all these wonderful things about how gifted you are and they exploit you and now you're perpetuating their messaging unwittingly or hopefully unwittingly.
Right.
uh
Or
and
become or being used by them to further their understanding of the phenomenon because they can't themselves, right?
right.
We've heard that as well. Like you're basically a pawn or
Yeah.
tool to help further their communication with things that they can't communicate with, which is, you know, I think Chris Bledsoe said that, you know, we pay attention to you because they're not talking to us. And so, and it's, the thing is like experiencers we're not victims, you know, we're just data at this point. It's like,
Yeah.
and then like the institutional response to experiences has always been like pathological. You know, you're a pathological liar, pathological. You would just dismiss you and isolate you. And but that response is like it's too consistent, it's too deliberate to be accidental. You can see that how that works. You know, the Robinson panel thing, of course, right? You're just
Right.
crazy as a tinfoil fat, you know, whatever. And but you when you understand why the data of experiences carry we as experiencers carry is valuable, then that response makes perfect sense because we were never the problem. We were always the asset. And what are you going to do with that? You got to protect the asset and study it and you know gather all the data you can from it and use it if you can, right? And these things. So that's where the other part comes into play that people don't talk about, like everything that happens in the background, being approached or the ontological shock. And I've experienced it from, like, honestly, my wife on the other side of it was where she was just like, no, that didn't happen. Like she's literally sitting next to me and we're having this experience, you know, orange orbs all over the place in the sky in the middle of an ice storm where it's coming sideways, where this, you know, your brain goes through all the things. It's Chinese lanterns, it's Christmas. She's going through all of
Yeah.
them, right? And I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like, pull the car over. She wouldn't do it. And I'm like, this is happening. She was just straight white knuckle. And I'm not even joking. For years, she was like, yeah, no, that didn't happen. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, to me, in a room, nobody else around, like, you don't have to bullshit me. You know that we saw that, you know, and it wasn't
Yeah.
until we had a shared experience with our kids that she was like, okay, cool. And like, yeah, that happened. But it freaked her out so much that she was just like, no. So you have that complete shutdown. I'm just done. I'm not doing, like, it didn't happen. No. So there's the other side of that too, where like, and that's probably part of the psychological, you know, the Robinson panel, the whole societal thing too. It's like, well, I don't want people to think I'm crazy, or the ontological shock kicked in at the same time. And you're like, I can't handle it, so it didn't exist. Like it just,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
and it's like the filtering of reality when getting back to that idea of the
Mm-hmm.
apertures, you know, you hear the story, you know, the Native Americans were here and they didn't see the ships out there because they
Yeah, because
didn't
they
know what
couldn't.
they were.
Right.
They didn't
Yeah.
have the perception of
To
what it
understand what that
is.
was. Yeah.
So like we collectively have that same filter to an extent, except you have smaller groups of individuals, call them experiencers or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, again, those kind of groups, I think they'll converge in some aspect. Like you can just be uh, somebody who's into the occult, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody who's a meditator, or you know, you're on a 10-day Vipassana retreat or whatever, and you're just kind of your own minding your own business, and you have some kind of awakening experience, and all of a sudden, you know, during you know the next few months, you see a UFO
Right.
or you have an encounter, and vice versa, right? You have some kind of close encounter, and then all of a sudden you have some kind of crazy samadhi experience of oneness,
Right.
right? All right. So
Or their near death experience that brings it upon you, or yeah, all those things too, like you're talking about. Those could be triggers, or it's the expanding of your consciousness awareness in bigger things than others, and then you can't deny any of those things. You know, there are too many data points, and then the way we communicate now as a species, you know, as humans, is faster and stronger than ever. And like you said, there used to be little tiny pockets all over the place, but now we can get on UFO Twitter and we can go on all these other places and find other people that have the same experiences or at least into the same things, and you know, share stories and share data, and it's like quicker now. So then, you know, before it was, well, it's much harder now. Now it's
you go to
instant.
conference,
Yeah,
yeah, if you
yeah,
can
yeah.
make
Go
it
to
out there, and
right, right, or do a retreat or something, or yeah, like you know, like now it's just instant. You know, you can have it happen. So I think that's definitely ramping things up, and I think it's ramping up for good. And it might be the you know the catalyst that started this push back in 15 or 16 or whenever it was when we're down this branch of disclosure, like we were talking about, like this iteration anyway.
yeah,
I think it's kind of finally getting there. The reason I did the book was like, there's too much of this that I've seen. There's too much of it I experienced, and there's too many too many data points. There's too much research I've done. I mean, there's like 500 endnotes in this book. It's like
Yeah,
it's
and
taken
that's
me
great
that
that you
long.
did that. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, that's because honestly, I wrote it too. Like I'm just talking to you, like over a beer, or just hanging out, and that's the way I've always treated the subject, and that's the way I wrote it. Because a lot of times, even some of my best friends for like 30 years, they're like, "Dude, you're making this up," and I'm like, "No, dude, like this is
Yeah.
real." So like in the book, I'm like, "Yeah, this literally happened. Like the technology you have in your hand is 30 years old. Here's the proof. Here you go. Here's all the
Yeah.
sources. Go look it up. Look it up. Look it up." So I did that to kind of help you, frame all of these ideas into a much larger picture of kind of what's going on through the whole scene. It's not just UFOs, it's not just lights in the sky. It's about what happens to you and where the esoteric thing intertwines in the secret societies and DNA and all of that, and how we as humans are way more powerful than we know, and how that part has been suppressed from us too, because it all kind of collides in there, and we're all kind of on the journey together. So that's why I did it, man. And it's just I'm finally glad to get it out. It's like,
Well, and this element of secret societies,
yeah.
where does that play a role in this?
So, obviously, jumping into this, being a Freemason and getting into societies, I was like looking for, well, where's the control mechanism here, right? Where's this structure and what it sits on? And I didn't find it in a way that I expected. It wasn't until I started doing more research into the oligarchs and the people with power and money, and you look at the historical lines of royal families and the industrialists and things like that, until you start seeing the correlation that happens there. And John Warner did the foreword for me, and we've been friends now for a while, and getting his perspective on that side is really eye-opening to see that these people that are in the tops of society and power structures and movers and shakers and things that you would think of, they have this backdoor strong belief in all of the esoteric that you wouldn't even know. They still do rituals, they still do things, they make moves on different planetary cycles, and they still have these beliefs that these esoteric things that they do are the reason they are being given money and power and things like that, right? They honestly believe like we have to go do this thing because that's how we're going to keep our power. I can't say they're wrong because it doesn't look like they're losing it, right?
Yeah.
So if you follow that chain down, you follow it through basically everything we got to see. If you take it through like the Knights Templar, for example, through the Nazi occultism to modern military like intelligence, it's like it's documented and it's not a theory. It's like these institutions preserve like very specific knowledge and they pass it forward. And like I said, I'm a Mason. I'm in the initiatory orders, right? So I'm telling you that what the public sees is just kind of like the surface, like the traditions encode things deliberately, and the people who inherit those institutions know it, and they kind of just encode those, like I said, rituals and things that they do to further themselves in society or in whatever their goal is, which is wild. It
Is
happens.
and I mean, this is a very general question, but is there any kind of consensus belief or writing within Freemasonry that speaks to non-human intelligence?
You don't know. I mean, not that I've been able to put my finger on it. I mean, we have, um, you know, uh, we call it the great architect of the universe, right? So that's like a generic term if you want to call that God or the one or the being or whatever you want to call it, right? It's kind of just a placeholder that we call the great architect of the universe. Um, in that sense, and there's not really a non-human intelligence pointed to. I've been looking forever, honestly. I've been looking for,
Yeah.
like where it's hidden, but where I do see it, and so it's very subjective in different ways. I mean, symbolism and it's in masonry is massive, right? So it's we look at a symbol, for example, like the square and compass, right, and that means something to me could be completely different to you, right? But then when you look at masonry, it's allegory and symbolism, right? So if you get down to the very base of it, instead of trying to tell somebody in words, you show them a symbol, right? And then what does that symbol mean? And what does it do to you subconsciously? Like we talked about earlier, is that this symbol do something to your subconscious? that you don't even recognize, or do you pick that up because you subconsciously pick up on a symbol that means something different? That in masonry is amazing because there's all these symbols, but they mean different things to different people in different situations, and even different masons might not even pick up on it. So I've been really kind of digging into that part of it to see, wow, what does this really mean? What have they hidden hidden? And I say, we're basically encoded in the symbols to kind of awaken something in you, to kind of make you be more aware of your surroundings, or be more like you said, how do you open that aperture? And for me personally, when I went through the 3 degrees of masonry, I felt like my aperture opened more. Personally, like I've talked to other guys who are like, oh, that was cool, let's go get lunch, and just right over their head. But to me, it felt like the way that the degrees are performed, it's like, very ritualistic, right? Everything, it's always the same. They have to do masonry is the same everywhere. That you do an inspection once a year. Somebody comes down and makes sure you're doing this degree right, the same way it's always been done since recorded history. And if not, you got to fix it and you got to do it right. So it's been the same for as long as we can record a history. So what is that special about that thing that we do in that degree in the lodge room that has an effect on you as a human? And I personally feel like it increases your aperture, makes you a little bit more open to everything, and I think that's probably the biggest, coolest thing about all of it. So, dude, I don't even know if I answered your question.
but I mean, in a roundabout way, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
you covered the bases, because I was
Sorry.
because I mean, in all my looking into Freemasonry, I never
Yeah.
came across something talking about aliens or whatever.
No.
I did have one Mason, and again, allegedly
Mm-hmm.
this guy was a 32nd degree Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, you would know all these kind of details better than
Yeah.
me, but he was, I think, I don't know the name for, I
Yeah.
think from according to him, he was running the lodge for a period of time,
Oh, yeah. So
but it
he'd
was,
be the worshipful master of the lodge. Yeah. Yeah.
it was a Prince Hall lodge.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And he told me that, oh, in the 32nd degree you have to be able to kind of like summon a spirit or something like that. I don't know about, yeah. He said
Nope.
some, yeah. I don't know what he was talking. Yeah, again, but the guy, I mean, the guy
No.
did know stuff. Like he wasn't just,
Yeah.
he opened his trunk and showed me some weird stuff. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I
he
don't
could
know
have
where
been
he
just
got that from.
pulling your chain, man. That's
Yeah,
just that's wild. No, I'm not. We
yeah,
haven't summoned anything.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're not drawing circles on the floor and like
He
summoning
made it
anything.
almost seem like there, but he was into some other stuff too.
That could have been the OTO.
Yeah,
That's like
yeah,
another. There's other esoteric branches that basically stole masonry, and they were masons who wanted to do actual magical workings, and they did shit
yeah.
like that. And cool, I guess, but not for
And
me.
so for Rosicrucianism, right?
Hmm.
Even it's talked about Valet had an interest in Rosicrucianism. Even Hynek
Yeah.
was curious.
Yeah, they said they were Rosicrucians, but not they were Rosicrucians in the spirit, but not in
I mean, that's what they said
practice or
about Robert
something.
Gilbert too, right?
Yeah,
Robert
right.
Gilbert wasn't conformed to any lodge, but he identified as a Rosicrucian.
Which I get. I understand how they could
Well, I mean,
think
look, I
that.
look at Manly P. Hall, right?
Right, right,
I
right,
mean,
right.
he technically didn't go into the lodge and go through the right. He not in that way. He
Right.
became an honorary Mason
Yeah.
afterwards,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
after the secret. Yeah,
Yeah, which is even more I mean, but some people just get tapped into it, or it's like, if you think about it, it could be that because they aren't beholden to keep the secrets, right? It's like one of the oaths we take is to keep the secrets of Master Mason, right? So maybe because they weren't, and they had enough foreknowledge, or they had enough basically they just kind of knew what was going on, or had conversations with people that were involved in it, or did a lot of research, that they were allowed to say that because they weren't under any oaths or anything. And maybe, like I said, I think we talked about it before we started recording, but like maybe it's just only for the people with the eyes to see and the ears to hear. So if a lot of it just goes right over people's heads, like I don't even know what this means and I don't care. But other people are like, oh wow, that kind of makes sense. That's really cool. I'm into that. What does that mean? And then you dig down deeper, and maybe that's why it's okay for it to be out there, and get other people interested and aware to it without violating the oaths or anything. Or maybe they are just really good at picking up from collective consciousness or past lives or whatever, and they have these experiences. Like you said, maybe their aperture is always open and they can see the things that normally we can't, or other people can, and it surfs that same wave that everybody else does. It's really interesting to see that, though, to see how people can be that. But the valet thing and Hynek, yeah, it's interesting to see that they thought about that, because that was the whole where the invisible college thing came from, right? That's the old term from that was a Rosicrucian term when that started out, because it was during the rule of the Roman Catholic Church, where if you studied science, right, basically you're a heretic, and they're going to burn you at the stake, right? If we're just trying to figure out how water vapor works, you're summoning a demon. It's like, oh my God, we're just doing experiments, right? And so we're trying to heal people, right? Oh God,
And do you think we're running into that same issue in modern day with this talk about the demons, right?
Yeah,
Where they're
the Collins
saying,
elite.
UFOs, they're real, but whatever they are demonic.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that. Like, you got J.D. Vance, you got Luna, you got
Tucker
Burchett,
Carlson.
Tucker Carlson. You got all these people, and like we were talking about it earlier. I was like, well, is somebody putting everybody in the skiff and they're going, hey, these things are demons. Look, we're going to tell you right now, these things are demons, and you guys can't study them. We know.
Yeah.
And whatever they're showing them, they're scaring the hell out of them. They're like, oh yeah, they're demons. I don't know. Or is it like I think you told me, is like the science, everything is there, but people are putting their own I can't think of the word, but basically
Their
dropping,
lens, yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
the
yeah, Chuck
religious lens on
Missler.
top of it.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. How
Chuck
did
Missler. I was speaking to a researcher
yeah,
who because at the time I didn't know who Chuck Missler was.
right.
So this guy was a guy based out in New Jersey. He was kind of like a well-known underground researcher. Like the researchers knew him. He used
Got
to
it.
host conferences in New Jersey, and he had a picture with Jacques Vallée, and but very like this guy was. You'd think he's a skeptic, but he was on like a lot of these UFO groups,
Mm-hmm.
very critical,
Mm-hmm.
and so a lot of people would just argue with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, well, what do you mean by that? Can you explain it to me?
Mm-hmm.
And he would.
Yeah, that's
So it was
good.
really interesting that he wasn't just bullshitting.
Mm.
Like people took him the wrong way,
Right.
and he's since passed away. And that's why
Mm.
I started telling the story, is because he told me that his mentor was Chuck Missler, and that Chuck Missler was a member of the Collins Elite. He
Wow.
just, and
Straight up
again,
told
this is
you.
coming from somebody like if you saw him in a UFO forum, you'd think he's an absolute skeptic,
Mm-hmm. Right.
but he was not. He was just a super critical. I didn't agree with some of his ideas because it got into this demon stuff, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, he was like a super intelligent dude. And so, and I started watching the Chuck Missler stuff. I'm like, wow, man, this is an aerospace guy, and he's like super smart, and he's got these degrees. He understands physics, and he's talking about UFOs and hyperspatial intelligence and their hyperspatial capabilities.
Yeah.
And then he just gets into this biblical stuff, but like, I, otherwise his interpretation was advanced and comprehensive, especially for that day. And when he's giving these talks in the 90s, they were like ahead of their time in some ways.
Right.
But then it pulls in this Bible stuff.
Just right on top of it, just like the lens of that is put on there.
Yeah, that's where he was coming from for some reason. But they were clearly, this group was actually looking at the science of how UFOs work, right? It wasn't just like, oh, they're demons and whatever. Whatever this guy, I mean, yeah, it was. I
He
mean,
was
just
doing the
look up.
science, the math, and but the math didn't math with the whole religious part, right? Like,
Yeah,
well,
I mean, but some of their concepts even were like, even I think one argument was that, the Collins elite, some of them, they don't want the public to have disclosure because if you did disclosure, you're opening up a portal for them to enter our world,
Oh, I did hear that before.
right?
Right.
And it's funny because Tom DeLonge, he wrote in an article something to that effect,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think that that's entirely off in the sense that like they're here already,
Mm-hmm.
right? But once more people take them for real and their awareness is like tuned into it, they're going to be seeing them now more, right?
Yeah.
Because their
Right.
consciousness will be attuned to whatever that frequency is, or however you want to put that.
Like the Native
They're
Americans in the boat, right?
correct. Their
Start seeing
consciousness
the boat.
will be open
Mm-hmm.
to it. But
Right.
they're there already, right? They're there. They're here already. They're here already. So what the hell is the difference, right? They're just doing what they're doing behind a veil. Now it'll just be we'll see through the veil
Yeah.
kind of
I,
thing. So
well, it's
that's what I
like a
mean is like,
tulpa, like a tulpa. Like if enough people think it's like a thought form, right? Like if enough people think of it, it kind of creates its own
yeah.
reality. It
But
becomes it in
but
reality.
I think that they are an intelligence and a reality unto themselves the same way that we are. Because some people might interpret that as, oh, we're manifesting. I
Oh,
mean,
right.
I there's a bottom down and top down way of looking at this from an idealism perspective, but I don't even want to go that far. And such that I think that these intelligences are intelligent sentience, just like we are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But with awareness and resonance, right? Like
Right.
we're able to tune in to their awareness and then interact with them.
Right. Right. No, plausible. Like we said, it's the gamut too, right? It could be all of the above. It's all of
I
the
think it
above.
I think it is, to be honest.
Yeah. I think. What?
Something I didn't bring up yet.
Yeah.
It says it on the book. It says trace how breakthrough technology gets suppressed for decades and drip fed through front people.
Oh, yeah. That one really spun me for a loop too, man. So like I started digging really into because the 30-year rule is true, right? You look at the 30-year rule, you look at DARPA, ARPA,
Yeah.
before that. Technology is 30 years advanced. This iPhone is 30 years old, right? Like that's legit. Look it up. I mean, it's in the book. So I'm like, well, how does this doing it? So when I started noticing Elon Musk early on, and I'm thinking, there's something weird going on here. And I remember the Howard Hughes, right? Howard Hughes, billionaire. A lot of them, people don't know about him now. Some people do, but he, billionaire, eccentric, all this stuff. He started working with the IC. I don't even know if it was against his will, but the Glomar Explorer was the famous one, right? It was a ship. There was a submarine, Russian submarine that sunk in the bottom of the ocean, and the U.S. military wanted to get it. The intelligence community, we're going to get it. But how are we going to do it? Well, we're going to like build the biggest ship we've ever built in the entire world to be able to like have this claw, like a claw machine where you had your kids to get the ball out, when you put the thing. So they did that
Mm.
to pick up this sub, right? So how are they going to do? But they needed a front man. They needed somebody to front this up because they're like, we just can't build this ship and like we need a cover. So they're like, they went to Howard Hughes. They're like, hey, you're going to tell everybody that you're investing in this new thing that you're going to be picking up, mining the seafloor for all these like magnesium nodules and like there's like gold and silver and all this shit on the seafloor. And you got this giant new ship and you're going to go out there and you're going to start mining it for all of this stuff because it's going to be your new adventure. And he's like, cool. All right. Press conference. I'm going to go out there. I'm doing that. So they did it like in the 60s or 70s. I can't remember. It was, it's on the book, but it's called the Project Arizona. And I think there's a documentary that finally came out about it. And but so Howard Hughes was the front guy. Like, yep, we're gonna do this. I'm doing it, right? But then all of this technology was coming through Hughes Aircraft too at the same time, like stuff that was just amazing. A lot of it he did too, but Hughes Aerospace is massive too, still to this day. So I started looking at the connections, and I'm like, whoa, Elon Musk is the new Howard Hughes. Like, there's all these charismatic front men and women that after the IC is done with their tech, right? So like a 30-year-old tech, like we're done with it. And I use some examples in the book, like Siri was a DARPA project that was 20 years old or more when they gave it to Apple. They literally gave it to Apple. They're like, here you go. Here, Siri. Remember when Siri came out and that was the coolest thing in the world? We're like, hey, Siri, what time is it? Or
Yeah.
whatever. Like that. That thing was like 25 years old, and DARPA are always done using it because they had something that's far better. So they start giving it to these tech companies. And I go through the whole thing, man, the whole chapter where Jeff Bezos' paternal grandfather started ARPA, and he would go spend summers with him on the desert, and hanging out with him and starting out there. So like all the advanced shit you can possibly imagine, Jeff Bezos was there for his grandpa to be like, this is all the stuff, right? This is all the things we're doing. Now this guy's the richest man in the world, and he all of a sudden has all the tech. You look at Bezos, he's like the secret guy. He's got rockets that go up and launch on vertically as well too. He's doing all kinds of shit in the background that nobody knows about. So there's a whole front man for the machine, basically is what I called it, because they have to get the technology out there because they've already got something way better. And to further society along, they're going to dump it out there. And I go through a whole bunch of different examples. We talked about, before we were recording, like stealth aircraft, all those things that were, 30, 40 years flying around in the skies that we had no idea were up there, and they're
Yeah, they were
operational.
UFOs.
Yeah, yeah. Perfect cover too, right? All of the technology, advanced technology is perfect. UFOs is a perfect cover for all of it. Like, I don't know what that is. It's an alien. It's a tic tac.
Yeah.
Right? But you can follow that whole line. There's some really crazy esoteric stuff about Elon Musk too. Like his grandmother was the first ever chiropractor in Canada. And the chiropractic itself came from somebody within that lineage that was basically somebody was talking to a non-human intelligence that went by the name of Mr. Somebody that I can't remember what it was, but they basically did this contact with this non-human intelligence, and they wrote all these things down, and basically that's how chiropractic formed. The whole practice of chiropractic came from a non-human intelligence
Yeah, I never even heard
channeled.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But Elon's paternal grandmother was the first one who did it, and they had all same things. They had conversations with these people. His grandfather, so his mother's father, got thrown out of Canada. Believe it or not, it was very anti-Semitic kind of thing. He started a thing called technocracy. So that's what Elon Musk has tweeted about a bunch of times as well, basically saying that the smartest people around should be the ones that rule everybody, and there's kind of really no other say. There's this committee of all these people that are smart. We're going to tell you what to do, and too bad. And that's how we should run things, and technocracy, right? So he got thrown out of Canada, for God's sakes. He got thrown out of Canada,
Yeah.
and he moved to South Africa and, tried to start the technocratic movement down there. But he spent his entire summers for years dragging Elon Musk's mom all through the desert to find the lost city of Kalahari. Now, it's not the Kalahari you're going to take your kids to at the swim park, right? I know, right? It's not it. There's this book that a guy wrote.
Like Shambhala or something, right?
Pretty much, right? There was a guy that had evidence of a lost city, an advanced technological city in Africa, and it was called Kalahari. This guy came back, wrote a book about it, actually worked, spoke with Musk's grandfather, and they went out flying. He was flying across Africa for years, and he would take his kids in like a minivan or something and just trail across Africa for weeks at a time looking for the last city. And then one day just stopped. Nobody says why. Nobody says anything. They just fucking stopped going. So did they find it? I don't know, but they stopped going. Elon Musk's mother was a model, had all the power, money, all this stuff like that. His father had connections to the CIA through a mine down there and all this other stuff. And there's all this buried history that you don't know about his upbringing, where it involves the esoteric, it involves all these other things, and it involves him being put into a place where it made sense for him to just have all this technology and to break it all down. The Boring Company. We had nuclear powered tunnel boring machines in the 70s that were creating dumbs, right? But now there's a Boring Company. And, we all just go through all the technology that you want to take, and I find it, and I find the patents, and I find how old DARPA was, and then basically show you that they just gave it to Elon to be the front guy to just roll it out to the public. Follows the 30-year rule, man. But they got to have somebody to do it. Same thing with Google. Same thing with Facebook. You got all these other technologies that were already there. They just need to put them out there to have somebody invent them, and a lot of times these people are maybe down the road already, and they're not dumb. I'm not saying these people are just idiot frontmen. A lot of them are pretty smart, and they're getting close to something, and then somebody comes along and just gives them a little, here you go. We're going to help you with that.
Do you think that with what we're seeing in the public with more like the idea of disclosure being put out there as like, oh, this is happening, right? It's
Hmm.
kind of where the conversation is today. It's like, oh, it's just like the lid's gonna blow any day kind of thing. Do you think that they're gonna roll out some of that technology?
Well, I mean, you think it would have to. I mean, I think there's,
I mean, you think that's why they're doing it
I think so.
in
I think
part?
there's, yeah. And I have been loosely kicking around a theory that, and I think I do a little bit in the book as well, is that yeah, we wouldn't put it past our adversaries to hack us, right? They do it all the time. China, for example, perfect example. They hack us all of the time. They steal our stuff. I mean, I use uh, I use this story. This is true. I went to Eastern Michigan University, where the IT portion of one of the buildings, they had the material science department there that was doing a lot of the advanced material science for the coding, stealth coatings for bombers, whatever, right? At the time, they knew that China was trying to hack the formula for the the radar absorption coding, and China's so bad that like they don't even care, and they're really good at copying stuff, but they're not really good at innovating. So, like for example, they would steal like a caterpillar lawn, like those big caterpillar, earth movers or whatever, and in the design it would stamp it like the words caterpillar in it. And the Chinese would just steal the plans, and they'd literally make the same thing. It says
Yeah,
caterpillar. It's like the
yeah,
words are in, like they're integral part of the thing, so you can't like take it out. And they're just like, fuck it, they
yeah.
just put it in there. So they just leave it, right? They're just like, I don't know. So like they don't even change it and put anything Chinese in it.
Yeah,
So they knew they were trying to hack the formula, right?
yeah,
So I heard, and this is what I heard, that they're like, cool, let them. They took the formula and they tweaked it so that it wasn't absorbing; it was reflecting. So
yeah.
the Chinese painted the ship, this plane,
Oh my God.
and they
Yeah,
flew it off, and it looked like a disco ball. It was like in the
yeah.
radar, right?
I
It's
mean,
just
that's the kind of vibe I get when I hear the Bob Lazar story.
what's that? Like the like,
Element 115.
mm-hmm. Like you think it's kind of bullshit or what? Like I don't.
I mean, my thing, I
Yeah,
think, I mean, I could be totally wrong on this, right?
yeah, yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
there's this element 115 that's the secret sauce, but I think the whole point of that operation was to have whoever go on a wild goose chase looking for this element 115 that doesn't exist and they'll never make it. Or,
Yes,
or at least
China.
they'll spend billions of dollars trying,
Russia and China's out there just trying to crank this shit out, and it's never going to work.
just
Yeah.
I mean, and when it really has to do with the electrogravitics that has been hidden, suppressed the magnetic propulsion and stuff.
Yep.
And then here, element 115, and they're like, that's it. It's fine,
That's all we
you know.
needed. Yeah, it's not it.
I mean, I really don't know, but I have a suspicion that's
Yeah,
part of the story. I mean, there's
passage
other
material
parts.
kind of shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, just because I had heard the MJ12 documents
Mm-hmm.
um, were, I think, I think Valet talks about this too, but I heard it somewhere else first, is that they were copies of what were considered in the IC community as Generation One.
Mm.
And so the public version was called Generation Two, which was based on the real thing.
Okay.
But the false information that was put in there was to catch a mole.
Yep. It passes material like whatever this. You know
Yeah,
exactly where this came from, right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's why those Generation Two documents were fabricated and made public.
Yeah. 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 Which makes sense, right? To figure out who's leaking all the shit, or
Yeah,
or
but
catch
but
somebody who's
but
getting it.
again, the
Yeah.
basis of it, there, it was based on something that was real.
Right. Right. There's always that core element to it, right? That
Yeah.
always that get that out. That makes sense. So like, so why do I think the disclosure things happened? The long shot here to explain the Chinese thing is that I think in being in information security, I know that we've been compromised in more ways than we can imagine, right? Most of our systems, right? So did they get a hold? Did they get a hold of some of the reverse engineered, or at least bits and parts of things that we had already reverse engineered or got really close to, and had already used in our advanced systems, like I said with the stealth coding, right?
Yeah.
Did they get something that's the electrogravitics? Did they get something that's
Well,
you
and
know
I think that's a lot of what we're seeing with these drone incidents. I think
right
these drone uh,
incursions that are happening all over?
incursions, that's the
Yeah,
word I was looking for.
yeah,
Oh shit, the DNA is working. Aperture.
yeah.
Um, those drone incursions one of the I believe that the reason that people like Lou Elizondo, right, are
Yeah.
coming forward, and some others is because they know that some of this tech is reverse engineered tech, and it's getting out of hand,
Yeah.
and we're still suppressing everything we most of what we have, and these guys are just out there using it.
Just doing whatever the hell they want. Right. Yeah. And I got that feeling too, is that we need to put that ball forward
And
because,
also because it they are just if other nations, right, are
mm-hmm,
just using the tech and
willy nilly.
developing it's gotten to the point now where there's incidents that we can't tell the difference,
Right.
and that's a problem. So
Yeah.
if you have service people, right, you trained observers, and they can't tell the difference from a genuine UAP, even if they're read into, well, and the problem was that they are not read into classified programs, right? They're just service people doing whatever they're doing at whatever they need
Yeah.
to know in that area, their training exercise or whatever it is, and they're seeing UFOs with and it's actually not it's a reverse engineered technology from a foreign nation.
Right. Yeah.
And
And then
and
and
and I
then the
think
stigma
that
is there for them not to report it. So they're like, oh, I'm not going to lose my wings if we were telling somebody I saw a UFO.
right. And so I think that again, somebody like Lou Elizondo is legitimately coming at it from a national security perspective,
Makes sense.
where where he's an intel guy through and through, but he has a genuine concern for the thing, but also I don't know. I mean, I guess you have to have some level of disclosure with that, but and that's where it becomes complex, right? It's not just a either or conversation.
Yeah. I mean, and, I've kicked that around a lot too. And speaking of, John Warner, and he's like, they're going to do it. They're going to do it really limited. And it was one of the biggest rubs he had with his cousin. He's like, this is really what they went to war over is like, it's bullshit. What you guys are pushing is just this much. It's like, you want to let everybody know this part, this little tiny part of disclosure. He's like, you got to do the whole thing, like the whole nasty thing, everything that's behind it, all the years of bullshit, all of the dark things that have been going on in this thing, all the things that people have done that are horrible to keep this a secret. Like, you got to let all that out. You can't just go, oh, it's this, And so that's what he said is he's really pissed off about, right? They're just going to give you the limited, tiny little bullshit disclosure, and then
Yeah, and
not
I think
everything
that
else.
yeah, again, if you want to say there's factions
Yeah,
that not all these people are on the same page.
of course. Yes, I've heard that a lot, and
They're
that's
not.
common.
Yeah, I mean, just
Some people want to keep it closed forever. Some people want it all open. There's a
yeah,
little
some
piece. And
people
they have
want the limited or
right.
so.
Some people don't want it because they're demons.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not saying they're not.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
But yeah. It's a mess. It's a mess. And hopefully the book helps people to like get through it. I mean, and I wrote a lot too for experiencers. Or people, people said they were crazy. You're not crazy. You're not alone. You've never been alone. It's all of us experiencers that are here. There's so much to go research and look into. And I think you can pick this up as being a complete skeptic as well. I mean, and just look at it from that perspective, because that's the way I try to do it. I looked at it from both sides, perspective of skeptic or a believer, and try to just come at it from both ends, because people are just so siloed, like, oh my god, I'm a skeptic, or oh my god, I'm a believer, and there's nobody trying to look at it from the middle, and that's what I tried to do in the book, is just kind of go, okay.
well, and yeah, and it's going to shine light on different perspectives that hopefully open people's mind to other things, right? It's even the consciousness aspect and the psi aspect. It's not just completely about UFOs and
Right.
like this Roswell crash, and there's a disc and aliens, right? There's the bigger picture is us.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, what are we, what are we as humans? What does that mean for all of this, right? Because that's the common denominator, right? We're always involved in this. We have been for
Yeah,
beginning of time, right? It's always interacting with us, always. Yeah.
yeah. Well, where can people find your book?
Well, it's on Amazon. You like it, paperback, hardcover, digital version, Kindle version. I'm working on the audiobook. It's going to take forever because I'm doing it myself. But
I love when the authors do it themselves, man.
it makes more. I think so too, because you want to hear it. I thought about.
Yeah, it's hard for me to do an audiobook if it's not read by the author, to be honest.
I know. I thought about like John Luke do it
I,
just because of his accent. He's so good.
you got to do it, man. You got to do it.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna record it. Yeah, because that's what I was like, I'll do it. So I'm recording it because I know I listen to audiobooks when I'm driving and things like that too. It's easier, to get it all in. I guess some of my friends are dyslexic, believe it or not. And they're like, man, it really helps us with dyslexia because we can read and follow along and listen at the same time, and it helps. I had no idea that it helps with dyslexic people.
It's
So
going to
that's
be
cool.
Grant Cameron X2.
Oh my God, I love listening to Grant Cameron X too. I told you that. You said I can't even do that. I'm like that's my secret pleasure, man.
Yeah. Oh,
Grant
shit.
Cameron X2. He's like Tim Taylor. That episode.
Yeah, no, but he's a conduit in some
I love that
regards,
guy.
man. He's just like on it in some stuff.
I love that guy, man. I do. I love him. He's so awesome. Like, yeah, I'm glad he's cool and he's still around.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so
Oh,
and people can find your podcast,
yeah. It's
UFOs on the Level.
UFOs on the level. Contactandcontrol.com, and I can do that. And I'm gonna start doing like autograph copies too. So if you want autograph copies of the book, then go to contactandcontrol.com. Hit me up. I'll sign a book for you and send it to you that way. Or you can get it on Amazon, like I said, anytime, quick that way. But yeah, man, it's gonna be a fun year. I think this year is gonna be fun. I really do with Spielberg movie, with all the other stuff that's happening. I think that's gonna be a good year. And then Trump coming out there, which is huge, right? Trump coming out there going, yeah, we're going to do it, but we'll see how that goes. We'll get this much disclosure, but
Right.
the I'm here for it, and I'm here for you. And thank you again for being you, man, and helping me through this whole journey and being there and being the cool dude that you are. Appreciate you so much, man. Seriously, big deal. Thank
Yeah,
you
man.
again.
Well, hey, we'll definitely be talking again soon. So people will be
Be-
looking out for that. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.